Jaya Ra. Oh, you need a song sheet. Oh, there you go.
I'm trying to bid down and get this book, but I don't know if I can.
Oh, help her with the book.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Uh-oh, we don't want to put it on the seat. None of the sacred words don't go where we sit. Yeah, you can put it on this book here if you want. Thank you, Prabhu. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Randana Yashodanandana Brajajana Randana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajikacharya Ashtottara to the Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajikacharya Ashtottara to the Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavindra Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay, I give text 32. Just look at the book. Well, just look, you'll recognize. I'm pretty sure it's text 32. Yeah, I wouldn't have put it. Look familiar?
Now we're at, it'd be 31 or...
No, we definitely did 30, I know that.
Yeah, so it'd be 31 and 30.
All right, let's do 31.
32.
Tapas?
Yes, Prabhu. I think 32.
32, see? The voice of God. 32 on page 285. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Prabhu, you want to use a book? Okay. Yeah, you can sit on one of these seats if you want, whatever you want. Okay. All right. On this 8th day of April, 2024 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 6, Dhyāna-yoga, the yoga of meditation, text 32, near the top of page 285. Atmalpamyena sarvatra samam pashyati yorjana sukham va yadiva dukkham sayogi paramo mataha atmalpamyena sarvatra samam pashyati yorjana sukham va yadiva dukkham sayogi paramo mataha atmalpamyena sarvatra samam pashyati yorjana sukham va yadiva dukkham sayogi paramo mataha atmalpamyena sarvatra samam pashyati yorjana sukham va yadiva dukkham sayogi paramo mataha. Prabhu, you want to chant? Haribol? No? Okay. Go ahead, Dave. Atmalpamyena sarvatra samam pashyati yorjana sukham va yadiva dukkham sayogi paramo mataha atmalpamyena sarvatra samam pashyati yorjana sukham va yadiva dukkham sayogi paramo mataha. Not yet? Okay. Anyone online want to chant? Oh, do you want to chant? You don't have to. All right. You keep coming a little more, get the hang of it. Anyone online?
Atmalpamyena sarvatra
Atmalpamyena sarvatra
samam pashyati Arjuna
samam pashyati yorjana
sukham va dukkham
sukham va yadiva dukkham
sayogi paramo mataha.
sayogi paramo mataha. Okay, I'll read the word by words myself. Just read along. Atma, with his self, alpamyena, by comparison, sarvatra, everywhere, samam, equally, pashyati, sees, yaha, he who, Arjuna, O Arjun, Sukham, happiness. Va or yadi, if. Va or dukkam, distress. Saha, such. Yogi, a transcendentalist. Paramaha, perfect. Mataha, is considered. Translation. He is a perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all beings in both their happiness and their distress, O Arjuna. Purport. One who is Krishna conscious is a perfect yogi. He is aware of everyone's happiness and distress by dint of his own personal experience. The cause of the distress of a living entity is forgetfulness of his relationship with God. And the cause of happiness is knowing Krishna to be the supreme enjoyer of all the activities of the human being, the proprietor of all lands and planets, and the sincerest friend of all living entities. The perfect yogi knows that the living being who is conditioned by the modes of material nature is subjected to the threefold material miseries due to forgetfulness of his relationship with Krishna. And because one in Krishna consciousness is happy, he tries to distribute the knowledge of Krishna everywhere. Since the perfect yogi tries to broadcast the importance of becoming Krishna conscious, he is the best philanthropist in the world, and he is the dearest servitor of the Lord. Nacha tasman manusheshu kaschan me priyakrittamaha. Bhagavad Gita 1869. In other words, a devotee of the Lord always looks to the welfare of all living entities, and in this way he is factually the friend of everyone. He is the best yogi because he does not desire perfection in yoga for his personal benefit, but tries for others also. He does not envy his fellow living entities. Here is a contrast between a pure devotee of the Lord and a yogi interested only in his personal elevation. The yogi who has withdrawn to a secluded place in order to meditate perfectly may not be as perfect as a devotee who is trying his best to turn every man toward Krishna consciousness. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Shri Parampara. So this is a very important understanding. Hare Krishna, welcome. Would you like to attend the class? Please, you're welcome. Okay, do what you need to do. So Krishna consciousness, Bhakti Yoga, is a science of the highest relationship that we can have. Now in the material sphere, these relationships ultimately are very painful. The relationships include not only relationships between other living beings, but relationships with our own body and relationships with the material world. And we learn right near the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, and it's not a revelation because we've already experienced it, that sometimes in this world there's suffering, sometimes great suffering. We may experience it ourselves. And sometimes things are going just right and our hopes are fulfilled and we have some period of elation or happiness. So this is sukha dukkha, you see. So what does Krishna say at the beginning of Bhagavad Gita? Yes?
I'm just listening to
Okay. If you like, you can sit down or whatever. Okay. So what do we hear from Krishna at the beginning? He says to Arjuna, Matras Barshas Tukonteya Shitoshna Sugadukada Agama Pahino Nityas Tam Tatikshasva Bharata. And this is a verse that we can totally relate to because we've experienced it. Matra Sparsha means the contact of the senses with the sense objects, with this world. Sometimes it produces happiness, sometimes it produces suffering. Just like even here, you know, where I didn't make a great effort to come here because the weather was perfect, but when I first arrived, it is the best weather I ever experienced. I had come from Miami, which seemed, well, that's pretty nice. Yeah, that's pretty nice in the winter, but it's pretty hot in the summer, and it was the summertime, it was July. So it was very hot and humid, you know, threatening hurricanes. So I come here, and then it turned quickly into fall, and it was just every day between 72 and 76, you know, like that. Clear skies, San Diego, and what could be nicer, you know, in terms of weather, which is a big deal. But as we have all experienced lately, the climate has changed, no question about it. So now we find it It's 48 degrees to walk to Mangalartik, you know, left side, yeah. And there was all this rain. We never had such rain. You know, we went up to Laguna Beach last Saturday. Many of us did. There's a festival up there. And I'd been up there, you know, you get on the highway and drive, but so much rain. It was like, you know, we were in the alleyway, and it was flooding. It's all just, you know, 2 feet of water. And we were going to pick up Bhajan Ryan Maharaj, and how he's going to get down from, you know, he had trouble walking, and so we waited and waited. And meanwhile, the emergency comes onto the phone. Don't drive anywhere, you know, flooding in your area, very dangerous. I thought Maharaj would cancel it, you know. But no, he eventually came. By the time he came out, the rain had reduced a little bit. It was, okay, so it's dukkha sukha, right? So now maybe we'll. So there was, but it was just very unusual. It doesn't do that around here, you know. So this is the material world. It's the world of dualities, where you're going along okay, and you're hoping for the best, and you do everything you can to make it happy, you know. But by, you know, all your efforts, the things don't work out. Some accident happens, or you get sick just before the big, you know, festival or whatever. That's just the material world. So what does Krishna say? He says, Tam satikshvasa bharata. You have to learn to tolerate those. The first step in yoga is maintaining equipoise. No one knew that word before, and it came out equipose. You look at the old books, equiposed. Okay, then you had a proofreader. Maybe someone else came to put the extra I in there. Equipoised means that exactly what Krishna says, that in the dualities of this material world, you have to stay on an even keel in order to practice yoga, because it depends on your ability to control the mind and fix it on the Supreme. If you're always, you know, aware of what's going to happen next, you know, can I really, how do I counteract this particular extreme weather event, you know, and then what's going to happen, you know, and then it becomes, it may be a very sunny day, but you know, you're worried about the irregularities of the material world, and that becomes your whole meditation. You're in the bodily concept of life, you're in the mental concept of life, you're not in the spiritual realm. So the next verse, Krishna says, Yam hinabdhyante te purusham purushashaba samadukha sukham dhiram somitad vayakalpate. That one is eligible for liberation from this material world, which is a good part of the Bhagavad Gita. It's ultimately not the ultimate goal of the bhakti yogi, but it's certainly a good preliminary goal to get you going in the right direction. In other words, we have to become serious about getting out of this material world, of going back to Godhead, back home, back to Godhead. And that means keeping our cool, being dhira in the dualities of this world, and keeping fixed on Krishna consciousness, on our duties in Krishna consciousness. By doing that, we experience a peace even amidst the greatest difficulties. This is we just read that. If you recall, back in text 20, since you all have books, that's very convenient. So from 20 to 24, I think it was, 20 to 23, beginning on page 275, there's a description of samadhi, the final, this is number 8 in the eightfold yoga system. There's all these preliminaries, what to do, what not to do, how to sit, right? Pranayama, to control the mind, to calm the mind. Pratyahara, withdrawing the senses from the sense objects. Then dharana, concentrate. You know, mind is going this way, concentrate. And finally, you get to the point where you're adept at that, and you can meditate, dhyana. And then, if you succeed, you come to samadhi, which is full absorption. And here is the description of the Ashtanga yogi and what he's experiencing. In the beginning of the bottom of 275, in the stage of perfection called trance or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the cap as self, Krishna in the heart, by the pure mind, and to relish and rejoice in the self. That's Krishna, the Supersoul. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of the greatest difficulty. Now, in the morning class, we're reading about Prahlad. Prahlad Maharaj is a perfect example of this, the greatest example. He was tormented so much by his father, just a 5-year-old boy, but because he was 100% completely absorbed in thought of Krishna and relying on Krishna, he was taken care of by Krishna. And he was never shaken, even then, boiling in oil. Just the thought of it, I'll do whatever you want. It's like, it's inconceivable. But he's just Hare Krishna. So he's a perfect example of the greatest yogi, bhakti yogi. In such a he's never shaken in the midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. But don't forget that part, not just free from miseries, is situated in boundless transcendental happiness. Now this really describes the bhakti yogi. And Prabhupada this is a very important purport, and it's a long one. And Prabhupada quotes from the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali about Chitti Shakti. Chitti Shakti is the spiritual energy, which is like Ladini Shakti. We have Prahlad. Prahlad means spiritual pleasure. Radharani is personified Ladini Shakti of Krishna. So we're aiming for that, to be completely under the spiritual, blissful, internal potency of Krishna. And that means situated in service, having no other desire but then to please Krishna. We're not even a desire for liberation. That's Lord Chaitanya's standard. But in that standard, you're completely surrendered and you're relying on Krishna. I think we dealt with this in the morning class. Rakshishati Vishvasto. This is one of the elements of surrender. Sharanagati, 6 elements. Be completely dependent on Krishna, confident of Krishna's protection and his maintenance. In chapter 8, we'll hear this famous verse, Ananyachetak satatam yomam smarati nityasa tasyaham sulabha. No, that's Ananyas chintayanto mam yejana paripasate tesham nityabhyaktam yoga kshemam vahamyaham. Krishna says, there's a story behind this. The verse says, Ananyas chintayanto mam, one who is always thinking of me, yejana paripasate, always worshiping me with love and devotion. In this way, they always link to me in love. And yoga kshemam vahamyaham. I carry their yoga and kshema. Yoga are the things that we need to live, and kshema is our security. You got to have both to be happy. If you're completely secure, no one's going to attack you, and you have the things to sustain you, then you can be at peace. So Krishna, I personally carry it for someone who's just thinking on me. I personally carry. So there's one scholar of the Bhagavad Gita, he doubted that. He said, Krishna personally carries. Maybe he sends, or but he didn't believe it. So he crossed it out in the book, and then he went out going to take bath or something. Meanwhile, at his home, a knock on the door. His wife is there. She opens the door, and there's these very attractive young boys. One a little swarthy, and one a little whitish complexion. And they were carrying all of these, ghee and rice and all the things that for cooking, staples. And then they informed them, because they seemed to have marks on their body. He says, yes, your husband has beaten us. I said, what? Yes, that's the fact. But you take these things, So she took him in, and then they left. And she cooked with them. And she was taken, she was shocked that her husband would do that, so much so that she sat down and ate without him, which is not, you don't do that in the Vedic culture. The wife always waits for the husband to cook. So he comes back, he goes in, he says, she's eating there, rice and dal, What's up, So where did you get all these opulence from you? So she explained what happened. The 2 boys who came, and he realized, oh my God, that was Krishna and Balaram, who came to prove that they personally carry what you need and what, So it was one of the pastimes to show. Because it's a little, it's one of these things where you really have to believe in the ultimate divinity of the Lord and miracles, Well, okay, maybe he arranges for, that the weather will be good and you can plant farms, you can prosper, But that personally he comes and carries. So they proved that he did. So the point is that those 2 things, confident in the protection and in the maintenance, that's a very important part of full surrender. So this is the perfection of the Ashtanga Yoga, which is what we're reading about. And now as we skip to 32, we see that the vision, how you see yourself in the world and how you see others, changes the more Krishna conscious you become. Because one of the basic staples of Krishna consciousness is that Krishna is there in everyone's heart, that everyone is a child of God. You know, Krishna says right in the Bhagavad Gita, 14th chapter, Sarva yonishu konteya murtiya sambhavante tasam brahma mahadyonia aham bija pradakpata. That last line says it all. I am the seed-giving Father for every creature in this world, every living entity, whether it's a tree or a blade of grass, an insect, a human being, whatever, Lord Brahma, that they're all ultimately my children. So naturally, you know, he has affection for his children. He's, so many are... In the spiritual world, everyone is completely happy. The majority of us, of living entities, are there. We're a minority. But still, there's an unlimited number of us, basically. And we're struggling so hard with the six senses, which include the mind, with the threefold miseries and everything, you know. Out of ignorance, we've wandered away. Just like it may happen that in the modern day, especially in the 60s, it started happening a lot, where young men and women even would leave home and run to San Francisco to see what, you know, the summer of love, you know, what's going to happen. And where is my child, you know? The child's not thinking about the father and the mother. The child is thinking about, you know, the next party, whatever. And but they're always thinking, when are they coming back? When are they going to come back? You know. So Krishna is like that. We are here in the material world trying to enjoy suffering like anything. You see, he doesn't like that. It's just that he has to arrange that so that we'll finally wake up and want to go back and inquire into Bhagavad Gita. So he comes in order to preach the Bhagavad Gita and to reestablish Dharma, isn't it? Yeah? Comment? Go ahead.
A question, actually.
Question?
Why does Krishna also provide all of these cheating religions that temporarily soothe and alleviate people so that they would think that the material world is more palatable than it actually is?
The only answer for all of that we want it. We want to have some justification for ignoring God or making up some false God. This is part of our illusion. But he also comes himself and he sends his representatives and he leaves his book. So he gives us the choice ultimately. And it's up to us to make the right choice because we have that minute independence. If we want, we can stubbornly, ignore it all and continue to try to enjoy. But it's not long before we find out that that's a dead end, and that we're going to suffer like anything. The more you try to enjoy in this world, the more you end up suffering. Maybe not immediately, although that can happen immediately if you're really extreme. But eventually, you become unable to enjoy the things you used to be able to enjoy, or they're just not around anymore. So many, vicissitudes in the material world, dangers and all these things, and it just collapses. You can't do it. And if nothing else, you're sitting quietly at home, getting older and older and older, and this body just doesn't work like it used to anymore. Like I have a new tooth, eh? See that? It's not my real tooth. It's just I just spent an hour lying there while he, put the Novocaine in. Oh my God, And it was all because I fell on my face. I hit the pavement. So, but this is just temporary. So then in 10 days, or about 10 days, they're going to put the final one in there, maybe a better color, So that's part of what it means to live in the material world. I'm lucky, I'm 76. I'm in pretty good shape because I'm very strict diet. You wouldn't believe how many supplements I take, and walking religiously every day, which is good. And good genes. My mother lived to 96, and in her 80s she was in pretty good shape. So, but it's temporary. I mean, I was just this morning I asked Mogul Leela how long Mukunda Charan had been here, and I was under depression 3 years, maybe 4 at the maximum. 8 years. Time is speeding up as you get older. It speeds up. Because it's all a question of proportion, When you're 5, 1 year is like 1/5 of your whole lifetime, So is it? No, I'm not 5 anymore. I'm 5.5. You remember that? He's 5, so I get the first cupcake, something like that. But as you get older, each year is a much smaller fraction of your whole lifetime. For whatever reason, psychologically, it's. What happened? What happened to those 50 years I spent in the Hare Krishna movement? I'm glad I did. So anyway, back to our verses here. So this Atma Pamyena Sarvatra, this idea of seeing everyone on an equal level with yourself, because the usual thing when you're in the modes of nature is to see others as a threat, as alien, as worthy of, what can I say, ethnic cleansing, because we want the land. I mean, how is this? Let's face it. How is this country established? On the basis of two things: genocide against the Native Americans, and slavery, which built up the economy and the whole thing. And those ideas, they're still around. They're still struggling here. I mean, I'm not going to get into politics or anything, but that's this is what happens. This is Kali Yuga, after all. Kali Yuga means struggle. Kali is fighting. That's what Kali means. It's the year of whether it's in the home, man and wife, or whatever, between races, between rich and poor. So that's the age we're in. But it's also the yuga in which Lord Chaitanya appeared. And how rare is that? Just let's see, how rare is our opportunity here? Krishna appears once in a day of Brahma. Who can remember how long that is? How long is Brahma's day? You remember? Day means 24 hours. I'm not going to go with this 12-hour thing.
8 billion?
Yeah. 8,640,000,000 years. That's one day, full day, night and a day. So you figure 100 years worth of those days. And you know how long that is? 311,040,000,000,000 years. So Krishna appears every day at Brahma, but that's still 8,600,000,000. He appears on this planet. He comes on other planets, but this particular planet, and he brings a replica of his Goloka Vrindavan. There's his Vrindavan is there. And when Krishna comes, the following Kali Yuga, he comes again as Lord Chaitanya. So, but this once every 8 billion years. So how fortunate we are. It's practically yesterday. Lord Chaitanya was here a mere 530 some odd years ago. So we have the greatest opportunity. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's some very important verses that our acharyas have said, well, this is describing Lord Chaitanya. Krishna varnam tvisha krishnam sango pangasta parshadam yagyar sankitana praya yajantihi sumerasa. This is a verse in the 11th canto, spoken by one of the 9 Yogendras, and the question was, who is the avatar for this age? And this is the answer. So what does it mean? Krishna Varnam means two things. He belongs to the Varna, so the category of Krishna. Or it means that the Varna can mean syllables. He's always chanting the syllables, Krishna, 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Tvisha Akrishnam. His complexion is Akrishna. It's not blackish like he did 5,000 years ago, but it means it's golden. Tvisha Akrishnam. And he comes not alone, but with his Sa-anga and Upa-anga and Astra and his Parshada, 4 different categories. His limbs, those are the closest associates, like Lord Nityananda and Lord Sri Advaita, Srivas Thakur, the Panchatattva. Those are very close. But there's also, you read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's all kinds of other associates he had right in Navadvip, and then wherever he went in Puri. These are all his Upa-angas, who also help him in his preaching and in keeping him, reciprocating with his intimate Krishna consciousness. So, Parshada, all his companions, so these are all his associates. So what does he do? Krishna is a Parshad. Yagya Sankirtana, it's mentioned Sankirtan, right in Bhagavatam, written 5,000 years ago. Praya, chiefly, he's worshipped chiefly by congregational chanting of the holy name. But also we find the deity worship going on, festivals, I'm doing my book work, that's another way of worship. But the main way, and we should always remember, is the congregational chanting. That's it. Yajantihi sumedasa, but one has to be really intelligent to worship him that way. So that's the intelligence, So that's right there in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And throughout the Bhagavatam, you'll find references to the congregational chanting. The last verse of the entire Bhagavatam, all 18,000 verses, you know how it starts? Nama Sankirtanan. The words Nama Sankirtan. Yasya sarva papa muchyate pranamo dukkha shamanas namamyaham. I forget the last line. I offer my obeisances unto that Lord who is the congregational chanting of whose name destroys all sin for reaction, and bowing down unto whom gives all auspiciousness, something like that. Last verse. You always watch for that last verse. Bhagavad Gita, it's not exactly the last verse, it's like 7 verses from the end, but the whole essence is there. Sarva dharmam parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papabhyo mokshayasya ma shucha. This is like Radharani, ma shucha. This is a mudra. The mudra? The mudras, we all use them all the time. Just like, really? You may not have to say anything. Or, I don't believe you. I'm not letting you in. Or, right, there's so many mudras. So Radharani, this is the Abhay Dan mudra. It's an official mudra. Abhay is fearlessness. Dan is a gift. She's giving the gift of fearlessness. Don't worry. You just worship me, Krishna and me. You do what you're doing and keep chanting Hare Krishna. Everything's going to be all right. Very important. You look at the next, when the kirtan comes, you see that. Very encouraging. So the whole, Lord Chaitanya's whole program is based on these two things. That he came in order to taste the highest mellow of love of God, as experienced by Srimati Radharani. That's why he has the complexion and the attitude of Srimati Radharani. And so that's his internal reason. And he showed it to the highest degree, especially when he was in Puri the last 18 years, dancing and chanting and associating with Ramananda Roy and Swarup Damodar, and relishing, what is he relishing? The highest level of bhakti, the level of the gopis' love for Krishna, in all different ways. It's Krishna Karnamrita, which I have a translation of if you want, with word-by-word meanings. You can learn the verses. Yeah, some of them are quoted in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Lord Krishna's Kaviraj was quite old when he began writing the CC, and at one point it says, I don't know if I'm going to make it through the Antya Leela, which is the main reason they wanted him to write the book, because the Vrindavan Thakur had already written the Chaitanya Bhagavat, which really gave a lot of details of the Adi Leela and the Madhya Leela. But the book was getting so long because he was including these huge chapters about Nityananda, his guru. And so he didn't give hardly anything about Antya Leela. So that when Raghunath Das came, after Lord Chaitanya disappeared, he came to Vrindavan intending to commit suicide by jumping off Govardhan Hill. But then he met Rupa and Sanatan and said, no, you can't commit suicide. We have to hear those last Leela of Lord Chaitanya in detail. So every day he would, in Radhakund on the bank, he would meet with them in 3 hours. He would tell them about the Leela, just incredible. And he had notes and everything. So then they wanted Krishnadas Kaviraj, who had shown his expertise in literary composition with the Govinda Lilamrita. He had gone there as a fairly young man. Now he was very elderly, and they asked him, you're the most skilled, it's Kaviraj, he's the king of poets, that's what it means. He wasn't born with that name, that was given to him for his writing skills. So he agreed, but he had some kind of health crisis near the beginning of the Madhya Leela. He didn't know if he was going to make it through the Antya Leela. So he said, okay, I'm going to give a little summary here in the Madhya Leela, chapter 2 of the Antya Leela, and you'll find there such wonderful verses, several quoted from Krishna Karnamrita. I'll give you a sample. So today I was remembering these, which I memorized them many, many years ago. He Deva, he Dayata, he Bhuvanayaka Bandho, he Krishna, he Chapala, he Kadunayaka Sindho, he Nata, he Ramana, he Nayana Birama, ha ha Kadana Babitasi Padandrishorame. This is a typical verse of separation. And this is Lord Chaitanya chanting this verse in the mood of Radharani when, hey, oh my Lord, oh Deva, hey, oh beloved, hey Dayata, hey Bhuvanayaka Bandho, oh only friend of the whole universe, hey Nata, hey Deva, hey Dayata, hey Bhuvanayaka Bandho, hey Krishna, oh Krishna, Chapala, oh you who are so fickle, you meet us at Rasa dance, then you go off to Mathura. Hey Chapala, hey Karunai, but still Karunayaka Sindhu, you're the only ocean of mercy. She's going back and forth, Hey Nata, oh my master. Hey Nata, hey Ramana, my lover. Hey Nayana Abhirama, oh delight for my eyes. Ha ha, alas, alas. Kadanu, when, oh when. Ha ha kadanu bhavitasi badangdashorme. Will you pass again before the path of my eyes? You know. And then a few verses later, he appears. He says, Marak swayam nu madodata de mandalam nu. Oh, this is Cupid himself, his personified sweetness. He's come before me, you know. Like so that's the Krishna Karnama. Separation, meeting, meeting, separation, you know, churning up, churning up. So Lord Chaitanya was relishing that book and Gita Govinda, which is another highly exalted book by Jayadeva Goswami. Love and separation. So this is the, you know, Lord Krishna, and he displayed that, and he left the, you know, record of it for us fortunate this Kali Yuga. And therefore, in the Bhagavatam, which was written thousands of years before Lord Chaitanya came, in prediction, there's this verse after the one I mentioned about predicting the avatar for this age, Krishna Varnam Tucha, the glory of this Kali Yuga. This Kali Yuga, Kaling Sabhaji Jaya, Guna Gya Sarabhaganaha, Yatta Sankirtane Naiva, Sarva Swarto Bilabhyate. I think Ashram Maharaj cited this verse. He cited this verse in one of his classes. So this is just a few verses later. It's, I think, in the same Yogendra is describing. Kaling is the age of Kali. Those who are intelligent, they worship this age of Kali. Sabhaji and Arya, who are Aryans, who know the value of things. Gunagya, they can really tell the quality, what's good. Sarabhagana, get to the, you know, the essence of things. They worship it. Why? Because yatra sankirtanenaiva, simply by congregational chanting of the holy name. Sarva swarto abhilabhyate. One can achieve all of one's swarta. Now this word keeps coming up, and it's important to know what it means. Artha is anything of value, and it often means money, as in dharma, artha, kama, moksha. These are the four goals, traditional goals of Vedic life. But they're ultimately all material. The dharma means varnashram dharma. We'll engage, you know, perform our duties very nicely so that we'll become wealthy, you know. I mean, not have to be overly wealthy, but wealthy enough to enjoy kama, you know, material things. Those are the dharma, artha, kama, dharma, artha, kama. Now, in modern day, especially in the West, the dharma part, just artha and kama. Yeah. We'll make money by hook or crook, and then we'll enjoy sense gratification, you know, which ultimately leads to suffering. But then when you get, you know, you're a little intelligent, you're like, I'm not getting anywhere, you know, let me get out of this material world altogether, free of birth and death, I'll really be happy. So that's mukti. Dharma, artha, kama, or moksha. Another word for it is moksha. Traditionally, these are four. But Lord Chaitanya said, no, the real goal, the real svarta, the ultimate goal of the purushartha, panchama purushartha, is prema, pure love for Krishna, which includes moksha, but it's not the moksha or mukti is not the motivation for it. The motivation is to dive into the ocean of the highest bliss, you know. And paradoxically, it means you really want to be happy in devotional service? Forget about your own happiness. Just try to please Krishna as much as possible. Try to find out what he wants and how to make him happy, and you'll find yourself as happy as anything. Because we're part and parcel of Krishna. When we try to be happy separately, we become miserable. Because we can only do it through these material bodies, but they're obviously fallible. They're as much sources of pain or more as they are sources of pleasure. So, my favorite verse, you know, Yehi sangsparshita bhoga, dukkha yona yevate, ajyantapantam konteya nateshu ramate buddha. You have to be Buddha, intelligent. So here he says, the intelligent person does not take part in the pleasures that come from the contact of the senses with their objects. O son of Kunti, such pleasures are the sources of all misery, and they're temporary, they have a beginning and end. And so the wise do not take part in them. They do not relish, you know. Well, where do they get the pleasure? They've got to get pleasure somewhere. Previous verse. Bhaya sparsheshu asaktatma. Not attracted, trying to enjoy these external. Bhaya means outside. Asaktatma. Vindidyatma niyatsukam. They're enjoying the pleasure within. How? Sab Brahma Yoga Yuktatma. By linking their soul to Brahman, which in the Supreme Brahman is Krishna. By linking the soul to Brahman through the process of Bhakti Yoga, ultimately. Sab Brahma Yoga, and then here's the clincher. Sukham, Akshayam, Ashnute. Ashnute means they enjoy happiness, which is ananta, which doesn't end. Where is their material happiness which doesn't end? You tell me. The movie always comes to an end, it's such a nice movie, You can only drink so much, you can only have sex so much, and it all comes to an end. And then ultimately the reaction sets in, ultimately. And then it's all over. So, but in Krishna consciousness, it's always just beginning. It never ends, because it's spiritual. We never die. Every body obviously dies, right? Every body dies. Nobody dies. Wake up, and open your eyes. You're not that body, you're pure spirit soul. Chant the holy name and attain life's goal. And this is the one I keep forgetting to do in the morning, because it kind of summarizes the teachings of Prahlad and Rishabdev and everyone. Rishabdev. Don't waste this precious human life, dear friend, by working hard for hoggish happiness. Through bhakti yoga, worldly life transcend and learn to taste divine love's endless bliss. That's what it's all about. But in order to do that, we have to find the guide who we can trust, surrender to the Guru, and take Krishna's instructions to heart, and try our might as mighty we can to follow them and dive into the ocean of bliss. It's there for us. And that means also, if we really become real bhaktas, we'll want to help others to be happy. That was Prahlad's mission. That's all the Mahajans. And Krishna is saying, those who are most dear to me are those who teach my lesson, who are trying to help others become Krishna conscious. Because we're all brothers and sisters here. We have different coats on, come on. This business of, the colors, it's such ignorance. The color of skin. That's total bodily concept of life, and it just destroys everything. But if someone responds to Krishna consciousness and wants to take a book and is curious, that's the bhakta feels happy in that. Someone else is taking. Any final questions or comments? Otherwise, I'll regale you with a few little poems. Nothing. How about online? His questions are all answered. He just walked in 5 minutes ago. This is pretty good. All right, here's one. Let's see. I was recalling. Well, this is a very, it's such a wealth. And Mukunda Mala Stotra. This is a book written way before Lord Chaitanya. There's these great devotees called the Alvars. One of them was a woman, a great devotee. And one of them was this king named Kulashekar. And he wrote a book called the Mukunda Mala Stotra, a garland of poems, a garland of verses from Mukunda. That's what Mukunda Mala Stotra means. And it was printed, I think, first by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Bhaktisiddhanta printed it, and Prabhupada was also translating it from Sanskrit. But he stopped and did the Bhagavatam. So after we had finished the Bhagavatam, we met in BBT in Miami. Well, what books are we going to go through? So I suggested, since Prabhupada started Mukunda Mala, he obviously wanted it done, so we should do that one. And another one he started is Narada Bhakti Sutra. And this is a book, Narada's, concise instructions about bhakti. Devotees don't read it so much, but it's a great book. You can read the sutras in 15 minutes and get a whole full lesson of bhakti. But here's one from the Mukunda Mala Stotra. And let's see if I remember the Sanskrit. Kadachadana saroje kanti mannetamine shamamujabujavici vyakoleha gada marge. Ahadi sadasi vagayapi atejo jalaugam bhavamodapatikinna klesha madhya chajami. The desert of this world is scorching me, tormenting me with endless misery. But now I see the perfect remedy. I'll dive into the lake of Sri Hari. The lotuses that grow within that pool are Krishna's hands and feet, so soft and cool. The fish there are his eyes, which ridicule a pair of most exquisite, brilliant jewels. His arms with graceful motions ever make delightful waves in that unfathomed lake. Its water is his splendor. Let me take deep draughts of it, my burning thirst to slake. If you want... if you desire relief from misery and wish to gain perfection easily, then take to heart my perfect remedy and dive into the lake of Sri Hari. Sweet, sweet is my dear Lord's form, sweet is still his face so fair, but his honey-scented gentle smile is sweet beyond compare. This is a Bilvamangal Thakur. Of course, he wrote in Sanskrit. Madodam madodam vabadasya vibhor madodam madodam vadanam madodam. Madogandi madhusmitameta laho madodam 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 madodam. Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote a song with the same meter, 20 verses about Lord Chaitanya. And each verse ends with this refrain line, Bhaja Golduma Kanana Kunja Vidhum. You should worship the moon of Goldruma Dweep. Now we've heard the name Navadweep. Navadweep means 9 islands. There was one point where it was 9 islands. Now you don't see the islands anymore, but it's still known as that. And Lord Chaitanya was born on one of the islands called Goldruma Dweep. Dweep means an island. So the moon of Goldruma Dweep is Lord Chaitanya. So worship that moon of worship Lord Chaitanya. But the golden makan and the kunjavadam. So one of them is a brahmachari verse. You know, he's trying to convince. I don't have a poem for it, but I'll give it to you anyway. Ramani Janasanga. Now notice it has the same meter. Madodam madodam babadasya. Ramani Janasanga sukham chasake chadame bhayadam purushata haram. Harinama Sudara Samattamati Bhajagodhamakan Kunjamidhum. My dear friends, my dear young friends, this is spoken to like 18-year-old boys who are interested in Krishna consciousness. Ramani Janasanga Sukham Jasake. Oh, my dear friends, association with young girls ultimately produces great fear and steals away the goal of life. So instead of that, make your mind mad with the nectarian mellows of Harinam Sankirtan, and in this way worship Lord Chaitanya, the moon of Goldruma. Hare Krishna. Okay, one more. So this is a classic verse. We should all know it. Chetodapanamarjanam bhava mahadavagni nirvapanam shreyakaidavachandika patadanam vidyavadhu jivanam anandam pradivardhanam pradibadham purnamita swadanam sarvatmasnapadam padam vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. All glories to the chanting of Shri Krishna's holy names, which easily extinguishes samsara's blazing flames by polishing the lust-encrusted mirror of the heart. That chanting is the waxing moon that knows the secret art of causing the white lotus of good fortune to unfurl its petals far and wide throughout this bleak and blighted world. Of transcendental knowledge, which will take us to life's goal, the chanting of the name of Krishna is the life and soul. The ocean of ecstatic bliss floods far beyond its bounds, wherever Krishna's merciful and mystic name resounds. Indeed, whenever Krishna's names are sung in congregation, at every step one tastes a joy that knows no limitation. So hear with great attention as I earnestly request, please chant Shri Krishna's holy names and be supremely blessed. The soothing nectar of the name will bathe your consciousness, bestow pure love for Krishna, and eradicate distress. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol.